Welcome everybody. Happy Friday. It is your boy Vlhadus. We have a lot to cover today in this stream. I just want to give, of course, shout out to all the people in my Twitch chat already. I got, Hunter, I got, Delay, I got Crackles, I got Magus, I got Sky. Thank you all for showing up on time. Firebrand, what is up, my dude? Happy Friday. I hope everything's going good for you. I'm sporting the merch it's not my merch. it's other people's merch. So I got my Rive Genesis hat on. I got my Lore Forge t-shirt. It actually looks pretty sick. I'm not gonna lie. I think the Lore Forge guys had I think the logo came out really good. I like it a lot. The shirt actually is super comfy too. The material is great. So kudos to the Lore Forge guys for actually getting good merch. Again, merch store is online. I haven't officially launched it yet. I want to have the hat, because if I get the hat and the quality sucks, like, why would I go with this brand, or this manufacturer, right? So I'm really wanting to get this hat, and I don't think it's gonna suck. I've actually seen reviews, I've seen people take pictures of it or whatever. I just want to get it in my hands because I'm very particular on hats. I like my hats to fit a certain way. I like it to be a certain way. But like I said, I'll give you a little, make MMOs great again. I can't wait for this hat. I am going to be sporting the ever-living crap out of it. I wanted this hat way back when, make games great again, make RPGs great again. You got the crafters make the best shit hat, come on. If you're a crafter, you gotta be supporting that. I even made one that's called Sandal Lord. Maybe if Steven wants to support my channel, I made that one specifically for him. So I think it came out really well. I love the little sandals, and came out really, really nice. Okay. All right. Let's get into it, right? So I might need that crafter hat. Yeah, dude, I love, I'm going to be buying all the hats. I actually am just waiting for the order to come in. So lots of stuff went down this week, guys. Literally a lot of stuff. Will there be a hat for Steven Sharif School for Crafters Who Don't Make Shit Good? Yes, there definitely will. definitely will. Crafter's Hat is fire. Yeah, I agree. Make MMOs great again? Absolutely. Because right now MMOs have not been in the best state. And you know, there was a little bit of a bombshell news that didn't really catch me by surprise. I've actually talked to a lot of people in the industry, and from what I was hearing, it was a complete cancellation. And I think this still was true to an extent, because they're basically resetting their direction. So their current direction that the Riot MMO was headed towards was canceled. So I thought the whole project was just completely scrapped and we're just not going to make an MMO. Oh, let me turn down the music real quick. Sorry about that. Never get this. There we go. Is that better? So like I was saying, I was hearing complete cancellation of the whole project. And to be honest with you, I am not a Riot fanboy. Like I literally, like, how do I say it, right? Like, I don't play their games. I don't play League of Legends. I don't play any of their RPGs. Like, I don't play any of their first person shooters. So for me, I basically, okay, that should be good. I basically didn't have any kind of an expectation of this game because we didn't really know much about this project. The only thing that I had a kind of glimpse of optimism with was that Riot is pretty notorious for not really putting like pay to win elements in their game. They're more of a cosmetic cash shop kind of, you know, monetization practice, which I prefer. Not saying I like, but you know, I prefer that rather than severe pay to convenience or severe pay to win. So in the whole world of Runeterra and all of the characters, you know, across all the League of Legends shit, like I don't have an investment into. So like for me, when I heard, oh, the Riot MMO was scrapped, I'm like, well, I mean, it makes sense, right? I mean, they literally lost their lead game designer, which was Ghostcrawler, who's now making his own MMO. And then I just had this feeling, even when he left, that, oh, I left the project in good hands and da 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 da. And to be honest with you, I really do appreciate the, how should I say, the balls like on the Riot team, because to just say like, hey guys, like we're resetting our development path. That means we've been going dark for a long time, several years, you know, that's 3 or 4 years potentially. This silence will help provide space for the team to focus on the incredible amount of work ahead of them. We understand the excitement and anticipation that surrounds new information, but we ask you for your trust during the silent phase. Remember, no news is good news, as it means we're hard at work, pouring our hearts and souls into making something that you'll love. And the fact that they could have went with whatever direction they had to just get it out, the fact that they didn't do that, I think is kind of telling. Like for me, like what kind of developers they are, right? Because I think they really want to be very focused and very behind the vision of the MMO they're building. And I think what happened was that the MMO they were building was a vision by someone who wasn't there anymore. I really do. I think Ghostcrawler was very pivotal in the direction that the Riot MMO was taking. When he left, now he could have left due to creative differences, but the fact remains he left, and now he's making the MMO he's always wanted, right? The MMO that he feels like he can put out into the ethos and that people will actually enjoy and love. And the fact that they didn't, you know, adhere to a vision that the person there wasn't even behind anymore to a certain extent, and they can make their own vision something that they're proud of, like I admire them for. I really do. Now, does this suck for us as MMO players? Yeah, because again, it takes a long time to make an MMO. It really does. And people say 5 years, but when has a 5-year MMO ever felt complete or ever felt like it didn't lack content? So the whole 5 years, to me, is just kind of a dumb argument, because Hell, even ARPGs that take, 5 years, like Last Epoch or something like that, people complain, oh, the game has no content, it has no end game or whatever. Well, yeah, because typically the things that we're looking for as a RPG player, as an MMO player, we're looking for content, right? We're looking for game loops. We're looking for things that we can do like at a, I wouldn't say at a repetitive level, but at a level where we deem meaningful and fun that can actually last longer than 30 days, because that's typically the lifespan of any kind of content on the internet that is game related. Like Power World was all the rage for a couple of weeks, and then no one talks about Power World right now. Why? Because there's no content. You've done all the content. Until new content comes out, then you'll hear Power World or you'll hear those things. But it's like we've gotten a really good slew of really great games lately. Like you've had, Power World, you've had Enshrouded, you've had Helldivers, you had, Last Epoch. I mean, there's been a ton of really, really great games coming out. But at the end of the day, like, people want to invest their time into a major project, but a lot of times these major projects have very short time spended windows of development, which means that the thing that we're actually longing for isn't going to be there at the launch, because like Diablo 4, like, New World, whatever the case is, every single time these projects lacked endgame, or they just lack the core game loops that just keep the game interesting or fun, even at a leveling level. It's really quite ridiculous. So I admire, the Riot team for doing this. I think it was actually a very bold decision, and I wish them good luck, man. Even Steven Sharif, our CEO of Intrepid, messaged their development lead and said, hey man, just let them cook, let them see what they do. Now speaking in the MMO space, there, our boy Asmon, Shards and Interest Star for mobile games and other crap. I mean, we'll see. Like, to be honest with you, Ghostcrawler's MMO and the stuff that he's talked about hasn't sold me. It just hasn't sold me. It's not a vision that I could see myself probably investing my time into. Like, I can probably, like, if it's free to play or whatever, I'll try it, but it's not something that I can feel I can particularly go behind. I feel like if I were to play Ghostcrawler's MMO, I would want to fundamentally change a lot of its core principles to fit my game style. And I think that kind of goes into the next topic of discussion, which is recently Asmongold had a pretty hot take, on retail WoW, that a lot of retail Andes and a lot of these hardcore players have gotten severely upset. And now I personally think that Asmongold was talking about the wrong product. So let me kind of explain a little bit of detail, right? So before, let me just kind of play you this little video to provide context, okay?
As I said, here's how to fix WoW. Reset everybody's spells, and then remake every class with like 10 spells or less. Number 1. Number 2, remove all raiding difficulties except for 40-man raids, and then make 40-man raids of the relative same difficulty as like Old War hard modes. Make them easier and make it to where there's way more people. Number 3, remove all add-ons with no exceptions. That's about it, actually. That's actually what I think. Except details, especially details.
Even the DPS meter.
Yeah. 3 steps to success.
So, in my opinion, and again, this is just my take on this matter. I think Asmon outgrew retail WoW. I think a lot of us have, and it's really hard to face the reality that the game that you invested thousands of hours in that brought you tons of happiness and great memories fundamentally changed right underneath you. And you have to make a decision to either adhere to this new vision and foundation or shit and get off the pot, like go somewhere else. And for me, when I was faced with that fact, I had to leave, because no matter if I were to make a WoW channel and start saying like what retail WoW should do to bring me back and players like me, retail WoW just isn't for us anymore. Like, it's for Zoomers. It's for these League of Legends, very 1% Andy kind of people. And the fact remains too, is that Blizzard isn't hurting. Blizzard isn't dying. Let's just be completely 100% real for a second. Blizzard is doing incredibly fine. Diablo 4 made $1.4 billion in its first 30 days. You know how nuts that is? Like, retail WoW, like, may financially not be doing so well on the subscription side of things, just regarding retail WoW. But if you look at battle.net as a whole, WoW or Blizzard is actually doing insanely good. And again, you're talking about D4, Diablo Immortal, all of the WoW clients, what I mean, like SOD, classic, hardcore, retail, all of that. Overwatch 2, I mean, it is what it is kind of thing. But at the same time, they're not dying. If people don't go back to retail, like, it doesn't matter. What Asmon wants is really classic, because classic has 40-man raids. All they really need to do is make an expansion that kind of prunes a lot of these abilities in classic, right? And just get rid of add-ons, right? Like, I mean, they need to make a completely new game, but that's the beauty of it. Like, vanilla WoW and retail are two completely different games. So I think really WoW 2, like, I know people always mention WoW 2. I don't know if WoW 2 is really going to be the thing that people are looking for. I really don't. Because I think, again, it's going to be behind certain core principles that the current developers like. And they like this competitive MDI, race to world first atmosphere. They like these kinds of players. This is the players they want to attract. And let's just, be honest too. League of Legends, like, they have hundreds of millions of people play League of Legends worldwide. If WoW can break into that kind of Zoomer audience and get like dungeons and all that stuff, that's what they're trying to break into. That's what they've been trying to break into. Let's just be honest. But again, MMOs are a completely different kind of game compared to League of Legends. Let's just be real. So people can make all these videos saying Blizzard's dying, WoW's dying. The fact of the matter is, financially, they're doing incredible. And because they're doing incredible, like, they don't need to change. And because they don't need to change, they won't. They just won't. So for me, that's why I left WoW, because it outgrew me. I wasn't the target demographic for that game anymore. So I left. And again, I think Asmon has a hard time facing that reality, but he loves classic. So I think, don't put this on retail, advocate for these changes for classic, or a mode in classic where there is no add-ons. In this mode of WoW, add-ons are banned, 40-man raids exist, and the abilities are very much like tightly, tuned. There's you have a choice of maybe 40 abilities, but you only can select 10 of them. I think that would actually be fine in that way. But again, it kind of is what it is. What are the reviews on these games that Blizzard have come out with? Have the sequels that they released just a bunch of people hoping they will remake their favorite game, or failing, or are they actually succeeding beyond those people? So the thing is that I think they are doing a little bit of both. I think they're failing on trying to keep new people, but the fact is that Diablo 4, I mean, they made their money. Like $1.3 billion is a shit ton of money for a game to make. Diablo 4 took like several hundred million to make. So again, with all of the advertising, they definitely made a profit on that. You know, Diablo Immortal, they make profit on that every single day. You think about the D4 $69.99 mount pack. That's just gravy on top of gravy for them. Like, again, if no one was buying these things, if Diablo 4, you know, literally made $56,000 in its first 30 days, if Diablo Immortal was making, you know, $10,000 a day because no one's playing that game, no one's buying any of the pay to win elements, then I would say, Blizzard's freaking dying. You know, like, no one is paying for their shit, no one wants their shit. But the fact of the matter is, people buy their shit. You can say Diablo 4 is trash, but that trash made $1.3 billion. And again, like, I freaking bought Diablo 4. I was duped into it. And I only played it for not even like 20 hours, you know, because the game was trash and I should have waited. I burned myself, you know, like it was my hard lesson learned in that regard. So I think people need to, or I think Asmon just needs to kind of reassess like where his vision in WoW needs to go, because he either needs to advocate for Classic to change, or he just needs to just look for another MMO. And just, again, people do love retail. I don't. It's not for me. And clearly it's not for Asmon. So like, why are you going to try to advocate change for a company that doesn't want to change something? Like, you know what I mean? Like, it's just not going to happen. Same with Starfield, sad times. Dude, yeah, Starfield. Oh my God. I personally don't even want to talk about Starfield. That game was a complete, you know, travesty. So the other, now to go into the next topic. So now we're going to kind of get into a little bit of Ashes talk. And I'm sorry if you guys weren't, you know, digging the non-Ashes talk for now, but I'm getting to it. So there's been several delays in some of these upcoming games that a lot of people have been looking forward to. So we've had PAX Day. We've heard last year, Q1 2024, we're doing our next, the Alpha 2, or their next Alpha release. Well, got delayed. Path of Exile 2, right? Path of Exile 2 had a whole trailer. They had a whole thing saying, you know, June 7th. That's when we're going to release Path of Exile 2. Not no more. What do you think of Chrono Odyssey? I will definitely give you my take on Chrono Odyssey. Just give me a second. So with Ashes, and I just want people, because forums, the Discord, I've seen so many people say that Alpha 2 for Ashes for sure 100% is going to launch in Q3 of 2024. It could, or it can get delayed. Because again, I think in game development, anything can happen. Literally anything can happen. And I think even the most prepared studios, or even like certain things that they were thinking, oh my God, we got all our ducks in a row, it's looking really good, it's solid, you know, our internal feedback or our internal testing or our internal systems are doing great. And then something happens that just fucks everything up. And again, I think, and this is just me, and this is what I want to get out to the Ashes community, is don't have your heart set on whatever Intrepid tells you. If again, if it does release in Q3, awesome. Like I'll be excited. I mean, I really want it to release in Q3, but my mindset, And even Narc made a video on PAX Day, which I was really shocked. His most recent videos on PAX Day and the delay. And he praised them for delaying, which I thought Narc would have been upset. Because I feel like if we are a month or two away from Q3 and we still don't have a date yet, we still don't have any kind of like a upcoming, like, hey, you know, July or August, you know, whatever. And then we finally get to July and still no news, still no date for Alpha 2. I feel like people would be upset in the Ashes community. And I don't understand why. Because again, people say, well, they promised us. They promised us. They made a whole trailer. They made a whole thing. So did these other companies. So did these other companies. Like, what does it matter? If it needs to be delayed, let them freaking cook. Let them fix the issues that need to be fixed to give us a proper testing environment. The people that are advocating that Ashes should just be released anyway with whatever problem is going on is insane to me. I don't understand these people. I really don't. We're all excited for Ashes. There are many people that were looking forward to Path of Exile 2. Many people. And now their wait's going to be a little bit longer. And again, Path of Exile 2 did a whole trailer. It was beautiful and had the date. It was June 7th and people were excited and then they got delayed. And so I just want people to understand that games in development, anything could happen. Spot testing could present certain things that the Intrepid team did not even account for, not even think, wow, we did not realize that this was going to be an issue. Imagine if this was 10 times the amount of people trying to log into our servers right now. We'd be screwed. We need to fix this. And sometimes, like with Last Epoch, with their launch, it could be a single line of code that ruined everything. I don't know if you guys are Last Epoch enjoyers, but they just did a blog post about their introspection on the launch of Last Epoch. And what literally made the entire launch, like the whole debacle of the launch, was a single line of code that boggled their servers down, that just destroyed and made the entire online experience just shit. I'm just saying, like, these things can happen. I am not gonna hold Intrepid's feet to the fire and be like, well, you promised, you made a trailer, you announced, Q3, and again, why did they announce Q3? Because people have literally, and myself included, I'll admit, we've been bitching this entire time wanting a freaking date. And let's just also be fair too. Steven, went to Discord the other day, and one of my guildies, Baba Yaga, asked him directly if Q3 was still on track, like to, for Alpha 2 to be released in Q3. And Steven said verbatim, we are still on track for Q3. But that is as today. As of March 22nd, we are still on course. Just like I'm sure Path of Exile a month and a half ago was still on course to be on June 7th. But then something happened. Something occurred that made them realize, damn, we probably need more time. There's some shit that happened. We got to delay it. People are going to be upset. Doesn't matter. We got to delay it. And that's, again, just the thing that I want people to understand. We're voting with our wallets and people are not understanding this. If you want to keep buying these early release games that are garbage, but the developer makes a profit for it, why would they not take the easy way out? Well, I know you're probably mentioning the whole Blizzard thing. I mean, I think, again, like, people are desperately wanting games to play. It's apparent. Every time there is like a viral game, people all jump on it to start playing it. People just want a game to play. People bought Pal World, people bought Enshrouded, people bought Helldivers, people bought Last Epoch. Like, people have been buying these games because people are, again, starving for content. Like, all these games that have been coming out literally provide like maybe a month's worth of content per game. So it's not saying some of these games are bad. It's just there's not enough content in the game for people to be engaged for a long period of time. And again, yeah, all those games are good. They're not even bad games. It's just there's no content, you know? Like there's no content that's going to keep them engaged longer than 30 days. So people then move on, they buy the next game and they buy the next game and they buy the next game because they're just constantly wanting that fix of new content, new content, new content. And I think we're living really in a really good period of time. I think 2024 has been a banger year for games, but I just want to put perspective into people that, let me see, the difference is people already pay $250 for A2, but pay nothing to GGG. So this company is more beholden because people paid money than these people got it free. Like, I don't know if I agree with that, because again, if I pay $250, why would I want a jank Alpha 2 experience when they could have delayed it and I didn't have a jank Alpha 2 experience because I paid $250? That's my take on it personally. Like, I want the money that I spent feel like I spent it worthwhile. And as the company that is making this game, they don't want to release something that didn't feel like $250 worth. But let's just also be honest about that package. You did not pay $250 to test Alpha 2. There is a lot within that package. And if you were to break down that package, you basically spent about $50 to pay Alpha 2. Because you also got like 9 months of game time. You got tokens for the shop. You got, like a costume. You got a mount. You got probably a ship, or you got a whole bunch of costumes to go with it. You didn't pay just $250 to pay Alpha, or to have access for Alpha 2. And again, most people that buy these packages, it's because they're trying to support an indie company, a company that doesn't even exist yet. I mean, they do exist, but they haven't even launched their first title yet, because they're starting completely from scratch. And they want to do right by gamers. So all I'm saying is that, yes, we paid money, but because we paid money, if shit is going wrong internally, I expect them to delay it. I don't expect them to be like, well, we made a promise and we can't break that promise because people paid $250. So, like, we're going to give them the shitty product that they paid $250 for. Like, I just don't agree with that. I'm sorry. Like, I just don't. Again, I know, again, you're not going to please everybody. And this is the whole problem, right? It's the fact that it's, Thy Delay said, again, double-edged sword. And I agree with that. This is the problem with open development, right? Like, open development, you expose yourself to certain cracks or certain things in the armor of your game or whatever, and then people are going to lambaste you for any kind of like ridicule they can. And especially if they don't like the direction of your game and they just want to be that hater that's going to comment on all these people's videos and just say that this game's dead, this game's a scam, this game's never going to release, Ashes 2042, or whatever they want to do. It's crazy. I'm good either way. I just think it's easier for GGG's community. No, again, I think there's certain communities where a delay, oh, okay, that's fine. But again, I also look at track record too. Like, how many times was Alpha 1 delayed from Intrepid? Like, again, I am 100% sure that Steven is gunning for a Q3 release, but you can't account for things that you have no idea are going to occur. And again, even if you're expecting the unexpected, that's why they didn't give us an official date like August 1st or July 14th or whatever the case was, because they wanted that wiggle room of 3 months to play with. And I personally think they are not going to give us an official date unless they are 1,000% sure they can hit it. And if we get up to June and we still don't know a particular date yet, it's because shit is either, not going wrong, but shit could be like, there's certain things that they're trying to fix And they're trying to figure out, can this be fixed in a month, in 2 months, in 3 months? Because if they delay it a month, which that's what happened to PAX Day, right? It was supposed to release in March, but then it got delayed to April. So it really just comes down to like what happens during that time, you know? And Unreal Engine 5.4 could potentially be coming out before then. Would Intrepid want to put their Alpha 2 on 5.4, or are they going to skip 5.4 of Unreal and just go with 5.3? Because currently right now they're on 5.3 on Unreal. So I don't know. And again, that could cause a delay too, depending if 5.4 can speed up or fix or help the developers in some kind of a development way to make the process and the back end stuff of fixing certain things easier for them during the Alpha 2 process. So again, guys, like I just wanted to be very clear that I'm not advocating for Ashes to delay or anything like that. I am just trying to open up people's minds and giving people examples of these other titles of games that got delayed when they promised a certain date and they didn't meet it. It happens all the time. So I am not going to put Intrepid's feet to the fire and get mad at them and bitch and complain that you guys promised Q3 in Alpha 2 and you guys delayed it to October or November. Dude, shit like this happens. Get over it. You know, that's basically all I wanted to say about that. So speaking on Ashes again, the fighter preview is coming at you literally in a week, March 27th. And I honestly, like, you know, looking at the you know, the back end stuff and looking at, like, you know, because Steven's playing the mage, but you see like the other people playing the fighter and stuff like that. I am really curious as the direction Melee is evolved to, because I had a talk with my buddy Roar, and I personally think that when it comes to melee classes, they need to have a strong influence of action combat. Strong. Like, I am talking, there really shouldn't be a reason to click on an enemy as a melee person. Like, there's just no reason to. Like, if there's an ability that only hits a single person for like X damage and has like a debuff modifier, fine. But for the most part, I think the philosophy on a melee should very much be action combat. Because I'm telling you, man, if you were to compare tab target on melee to action combat, there's no comparison. Action combat on melee just feels superior. It just feels so good. And I think, again, as someone who enjoys melee, I really think they need to put a strong emphasis on action for melee classes in Ashes, or classes that wield melee weapons. And I think they need to put a hybrid approach on casters and healers in Ashes, to where it is very much a lock-on tab target kind of system, but with hybrid action abilities. Because let me just tell you guys, like, I don't like action healing. I'm sorry. Like, and I think honestly, like, when I see like New World healing or anything like that, like, I think when I was speaking to Burns, he said the New World healing got better, but I traditionally think that it's just severely hard from a developer's point of view to do healing well in action. Like, I because again, you have to make a lot of smart heals, proximity based heals, and it's just a pain in the dick, dude. It's so hard. Let me see. Yeah, ask their swing should cleave for the most part. Yeah, 100%. Like, you should literally just make the melee, just make any melee weapon be in action mode. Like, that's the mode. Like, whenever you get into it, like, if you want to swap to tab target, like, but I think honestly, when you equip on a melee thing, it should be defaulted to action, and a lot of your abilities should emphasize a more action-based approach, because again, it just feels better. Like, it just does. But you know, and again, we can have this topic too, because I know people mention the ranger and the bow, and people like action combat from the bow's perspective, and they like it, you know, good for the tab target perspective. I don't even want to get into that conversation either. I mean, it's so tiring to have that kind of a conversation for bow users. I'm personally of the advocate of tab when it comes to bows. Especially in MMO where it's literally massively just there's going to be a crap ton of people on screen. I don't know how action would really play into that personally, and do it well, because I think one side is going to be upset if they just make it action mode and they don't add any kind of a damage multiplier to it or a damage boost because you're doing an action mode. People will be upset, right? So they want a particular advantage for being an action cam compared to tab people, because they are going with this more hybrid approach. The way I would personally fix that is make ranger abilities that have this ranger ability is a tab ability only. You will only be able to do it in tab. There's no other way to do it. This is a tab based ability. And this other ability is an action based ability. You can only do this in action. There's no way you can tab target on it. If you miss, you miss. It is what it is. That's kind of like my meeting in the middle kind of approach, because then you can actually properly tune these abilities better. And I think honestly, when it comes to the auto, right, or the basic attack of the bow, just make it default for tab, and just make the actual core ranger abilities some of the more action-based abilities, so that way you can actually do more stuff with and feel like, yeah, I'm just kind of mixing in my tab stuff. You know, it's always going to hit because it's tab. But then if you have a majority of action-based abilities on your bar, you know, maybe those do a little bit more damage because you're constantly trying to aim these. You know what I mean? I'm totally fine with that kind of approach too. I think it's totally fine. But yeah, I'm actually really looking forward to Melee. I really want to see what this momentum mechanic does for Intrepid, or like, you know, what does the Juggernaut look like in Ashes, right? Like, that's kind of like my thing with this, is that I'm really curious as to like how they're going to go about this particular update. And I think they're actually hopefully going to show maybe some, I'm not going to say archetypes, but hopefully like a slew of abilities, right? Because the last time we saw the melee combat showcase, we saw the hammer ability, we saw Blade Storm or a Whirlwind, whatever you want to call it. And we saw like a dash. And that's really about it. And we saw like the basic weapon combo of the greatsword and of the daggers. Like, that's literally what we saw. Let me see. Camera type matters too. If Steven zooms out like this video or ARPG level zoom out, it won't feel as impactful or immersive. So as an action player, you should feel more zoomed in on your character. I think that would feel very weird playing an MMO, because usually MMO players love to be more zoomed out. Like, that's just, again, my perspective. Like, I think ultimately, like, I don't know if the camera matters too much to me personally. What I like about the action is the feel of it. Like, I like the feel of action way better, because I don't have to worry about clicking on my targets. Like, if I want to cleave or do stuff on the target, like, I can do that shit. And again, like, from what we saw in the basic melee combat showcase a while back, we did kind of see that, because when they were doing basic attacks, it was cleaving onto other people. In most auto target, you know, tab target MMOs, your auto attack only hits one person, even though there's 5 people next to you. So it'll be really interesting to see like what the evolution of melee combat is to this particular point, right? Because we're probably on like combat, what is this, the, you know, 31st evolution of combat for Ashes, you know what I mean? So I'm really curious as to like how it looks. But in this video, when you were going back and kind of seeing the fighter like fight in this particular thing, I thought like the animations and everything looked pretty good. So I'm really quite excited to see this next update, because fighter is a potential main if this momentum mechanic is actually really fun and engaging, like I might end up maining a fighter. I don't know, because I love melee. I love the warrior and WoW. I love barbarians. Like I love the whole aesthetic of them. So if the action combat or the melee combat is at a feel and at this, because I think sounds are so important in action melee combat. If the sounds feel weighted and heavy and just like you feel like you're cutting into flesh and stuff, like that's gonna feel so good. Sounds and sound design is just, it's crucial for me. And I personally would love if Critical Strikes had an even gushier or even a crunchier sound. So audibly, you know you critted, because it's like you hear, and even if your character did like a grunt or something, right? Like, you know, and each time you hear your character grunt, you hear that critted, you know, sound effect of your sword or something. That's gonna feel good. That's gonna feel like, oh my god, because imagine getting a crit after crit, you know what I mean? It's just, you're gonna be grunting and you know, just, I don't know, maybe you don't need the grunt, maybe just the sound of the sword hitting the monster like in a better way. But that's pretty much like, you know, again, without seeing the latest update, like I'm very curious as to the design of melee, what they're going to do, because I think ultimately it's gonna be very important to the actual like progress of Alpha 2, because they changed a lot from Alpha 1. They radically changed the combat from Alpha 1 melee to what we saw even in the showcase of the melee combat last year, or was it 2 years ago? Jesus, it feels like forever ago. I think it was 2 years ago. Holy shit. God dang, man. This game used to come out, man. Jesus Christ. So, guys, I really don't mean to cut it short, but I actually have guests at my house right now. My wife's doing a game night. So I kind of wanted to bring you like all these different topics and stuff like that I wanted to talk about. I hope it didn't seem rushed. I hope because I feel like I gave a lot of the opinions that I had on these particular subjects, and I feel like I did a pretty good job doing this stuff. So guys, thank you so much for showing up. And you know, I just arrived. Yeah, I know, Nemesis, dude. Thank you so much for showing up. But you can always watch the VOD, man, of all my takes and all the stuff. It was a pretty good I think it was a pretty good stream. You know what I mean? Very compact, you know, maybe about 55 minutes or so. I will also, in a couple of hours when YouTube does my stream, I will go back in the YouTube editor and I will cut out the 10-minute starting soon screen. So that way, whenever the YouTube video starts, it'll be, you know, right when I start talking and stuff like that. So, but I can't do that immediately. Like I have to wait for the YouTube video or the VOD to like finish processing or whatever the hell it is. But guys, if you like this video, hit the like button if you're on YouTube, subscribe to my channel if you're on YouTube. If you're on Twitch, you know, hit that follow button. I mean, you'll always keep up to date on anything that I do for Vlhadus Gaming. I usually stream every Friday at 7 p.m. Central. I stream randomly throughout the week. I've been on a streaming kick lately, so I've been streaming a shit ton lately. So yeah, you know, hit that follow button. I know you guys did today. Thank you so much for the people who did follow. I appreciate it. Thank you so much. And I will see you guys on the next one. Later, guys.